Are you gonna kill me?
No. God, no.
What the You were a goth kid.
No. God, no. No. This was from Halloween, and I've kind of grown to the outfit.
All right.
I'm basically dressing like an old friend that passed.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't want to be rude.
You're fine.
What's going on, Rogain? How you been?
I've been all right. Here and there and everywhere. And
Haven't seen you in a while. It's good to, finally, I guess, be able to turn around and catch up for once.
Yeah.
You want a cigarette?
I'm good for now.
All right. So, I'm trying to think. What have you been up to recently? Have you been up to anything new? Anything interesting?
Not really.
I'm trying to think. I lost my job at PDM. Had some shit go down, you could say.
Oh.
I may have went to jail.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was may or may not have been for attempted first degree.
Mind if I ask who?
August Vicarian?
Okay.
I'm not proud of it. I went to jail and so did Thomas. And ironically, that was the last time I saw Thomas. And as far as I'm concerned, he's dog shit on the bottom of my shoe.
Well, the last time I was actually trying to talk to you, I was actually going to bring that up.
Which part?
You and Thomas and, I heard you guys were working against Q. And a few other people, but I guess not anymore.
We were. And I could tell you the brunt of it.
Okay.
So, we were doing stuff. The only way I can describe it.
I heard you were after Q and maybe the Smileys and a few other serial killers. And
do you remember who you heard that from? I'm past it. I don't plan on looking back on any of that shit, but just more.
They're dead now.
Toby Argent?
No.
Wait, Toby's alive.
One of my information guys.
Mervin.
No.
I know Mervin passed.
We will talk about who passed later.
Okay.
Because you knew them. But
oh.
Just wanted to get catched up first before we.
Yeah. Dive into the heavy shit.
I just found out, so.
I got you. And again, I'm sorry. And I'm sure I'll be sharing some feelings in a little bit, but Thomas brought me in early on. There was a lot of stuff that came up, a lot of shit, I guess you could say. I helped him out with information. I helped him out with some stuff. Lo and behold, I stayed away. I was away from the brunt of it all. I was under the radar. I was quiet. I did my thing. Thomas did his thing. And we never really crossed paths with what we did on our own time. The only thing I ever did was I went to Thomas and I used to tell him, hey, X, Y, and Z is talking about going after X, Y, and Z. And, Z, Y, and X is our friend, and we don't want Z, Y, and X to get involved with X, Y, and Z. And, that's when Thomas would jump in and would take care of the quote-unquote problem. Typically.
You and me have a lot alike.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm about to learn a lot about you, Kyle. But yeah. Eventually, the Illuminati quite literally died off. It is no longer a thing. It is completely gone. The Illuminati was just a description to describe the people involved. weren't a lot of us, but there were some.
I've heard four of the names. One of them I don't really remember.
Fair enough. But eventually the Illuminati became Consequences, and I don't know if you know who Consequences was
No.
/ were. Okay.
Is that basically what took over the place of the Illuminati?
I guess you could say a lot of people were no longer involved too. It was it was a very serious moment for a lot of people. Consequences was pretty much to start as back as the Illuminati. The Illuminati's intent was not to harm anybody. The Illuminati's intent was to actually help gather information for the police, essentially being vigilantes.
Yeah, that's when I kind of learned about you guys and how I was going to approach you about, mutually aligned interests. But
Well, there may still be something on the table, and I'll get to that. The Illuminati became Consequences, and Consequences was the opposite of the Illuminati. The Illuminati was meant to be working with the police. We had a deal with Brian Knight. Brian Knight kind of fell under, and apparently hearing from others, snitched out and pretty much dropped everyone's name and went, yeah, it's his group and blah, blah, blah. Because Brian does not have, he's got a loud mouth.
I found out Brian was actually one of my, things in the dire circumstances that came up, that if we needed police, we would go to. But I found out very quickly he was untrustworthy. So I know exactly what you're talking about. We had, it sounds more and more like we had a lot in common.
I need to know now, but real quick, is Tyrone calling me out on Twitter?
I don't know.
I don't talk to Tyrone.
I think he might be talking about someone else then.
Yeah, he said nah. I was very confused just a second ago. But anyway, so yeah, I guess we have a lot more in common than I realized. Consequences was the opposite of the Illuminati. I'm sorry, I forget where I was, but essentially it was find people who went after innocent people who did not serve the time for their crime or repeated history, and show them a proper lesson by anonymously picking them up and torturing them. I was never involved in that side. My side was finding those people, and what they did. Thomas was to go and pursue, followed by a couple other people. And I was generally not involved with that, and we had a couple videos come out, and then it literally just all fell over and died. Just Thomas went to Eastside Ballas and started an entire fucking war with me, people like Bryce, he name dropped people and shot Deadeye Drew in the face, and then disappeared. And that was the last time I heard of him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I am right now. All my friends fleshed out. A lot of the people I spoke to fleshed out. I don't see a lot of them, and it's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like for example, even some of my friends, not even necessarily Illuminati wise. Look at people like Bryce. Bryce is so involved with stuff right now, and I'm happy for him. And unfortunately, he's actually in the ICU right now. But I'm happy that he is where he's at with PDM, and the friends that he has. He's going through a divorce, so I'm not.
I heard about that.
Mm-hmm. And I'm friends with Izzy, so it's been weird being the middleman between two best friends. But a lot of those people that I was around are no longer around. It's honestly kind of a shame. And I'm most likely gonna miss him.
Yeah, that's how it goes. A lot of my friends are dropping off, and a lot of things are starting to die, unfortunately.
Yeah. I've kind of lost my place here in Los Santos too. It's been very interesting. I feel like I've lost a lot of who I am.
I have to.
But now you got me interested about what you said before though. About our mutual interests.
Yeah, for a long time I used to gather information and relay information from place to place. Especially regarding serial killers, lock Q, basically anyone that hurt innocent people with reckless intent. Um, the thing is, I'm having problems with information now, and now I don't really have. I've got my one person to turn to, and that's it now. I'm.
You don't mind me
I can't.
asking. Not to interrupt. I'm sorry, but would you ever be willing to share who that other person was? Because now it leaves me
Well,
curiosity to know if it's
the
the same.
person who died. The person who died. I wasn't referring to the one person just then, but the person who died was Charlie Espresso.
Oh. You know, Charlie
He
saved my life.
Charlie helped out a lot of people. But yeah, I know you knew him, so
He's the reason why I learned about a lot. He was a very involved person, and Charlie.
we used to exchange information a lot. So
Like I said, Charlie saved my life. He was good.
yeah, the thing is now is I'm pretty sure there's still serial killers out there. And now there's even less information about them. And I don't know how to stop it anymore.
We had a good thing going, and I don't mean just me. I'm saying you as well. You know, you had your connections, I had my connections, and obviously we followed a very similar path in a lot of ways.
We did.
And it's amazing to me to think that we've never crossed paths before with any of this.
I've heard you on my radar a few times. I am extremely discreet.
You're good. You're really good. You're
Yeah.
obviously better than I am. The problem was with the Illuminati, things got so overwhelming and so big that people started seeing a relation with myself and Thomas, and people started assuming things, and then assumptions, people ended up snooping in wrong directions, and people dropped information that they shouldn't have. And my name kind of got tarnished on other people. And I promise moving forward to be way more discreet. But so Charlie,
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
No, okay. Yeah, go ahead with what you were saying.
I was just gonna say, so you and Charlie spoke a lot. Is
Yes.
that why he was at the hospital a lot too?
He was in ICU for months. And his body finally gave out.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, the city drained the life out of him.
Charlie was a broken person. He went down a path, and it literally broke him. And it's unfortunate to say it like that, but
That's exactly what happened.
He was used. And it's not not even in a bad way used, but he was like, unfortunately, I mean, the only way I can describe this is Charlie's life. And again, I don't mean this in any harmful way whatsoever, but was really, it was like a chewed up piece of gum. It didn't really digest, and it's kind of there forever. Gum doesn't go anywhere, but at the same time, it's just,
I know what you mean.
Charlie got used, and there wasn't putting him back to his original form. And I will thank him for the rest of my life for saving me with the information that he gave me regarding the people that I was trying to avoid. He told me about his involvement with the Smileys, and I've made an oath and a promise that I will never speak about the Smileys ever again, and I will never go near them ever again. They tried chasing me. They tried harming me for 7 months total, I think, until
I was one of the ones working on trying to stop them.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Well, I assume you got the list too?
I've had more lists than you know about. Yeah. I'm the one who put the... if you're talking about that one list, I'm the one who solved part of the list.
Which one?
1, 2. You know about that one? I believe your name was on that list.
It was probably the second name, right?
Well, I'm more talking about the Jaden list. I believe. I don't know. I don't remember if you were on that.
Oh, I was. In fact, Jaden's the one that stabbed me, and in fact, ironically, not Charlie was the one that told me that Jaden stabbed me.
Yeah, I was the one who figured out his list, what it meant.
What did it mean? And like I said, I've never
rhyme
gone back. But
with the first 12 names, I don't have the rhyme on me. But essentially, it was a kill list, but everything was built in pairs, and all the pairs were associated with different things.
interesting. That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. But I want to put something new together. I want to put together a new information network, but I don't know how anymore. Because I need people that can be trusted, that just want to protect people, that can get information to the right places.
Holy shit. I might be able to help you.
I don't know how it's going to be put together. But I know one thing, I don't want anyone to know who other people are in it. Completely, anonymous from each other, but,
That's what we did with the Illuminati. And Thomas then splurged out everybody's name. But prior to that, we all had code names. In fact, my code name was Damien. I had a mask to go with the outfit. And whenever we had to have meetings face to face, we would all show up with our outfits and our aliases, and we would alter our voices, and we would have very discreet meetings, and it worked out for a while. I could tell you since then, the name Damien has not come up, but what you're planning on doing is dangerous, and you know that.
I know.
But I think you're doing it smart already by leaving everybody anonymous. That includes being anonymous to the other people. The only person that knows everybody would be you, correct?
I might not even want that.
What do you
I
mean?
believe that. I mean, I want, I would like to, be able to exchange information, but maybe certain people can bring on other people, but to the extent of, a small amount, 1 to 2. And so that way, if someone has someone who needs a protected identity,
I might have somebody who might be interested in this.
that way, not everyone's burned, even though I would never burn anybody, but, if something happened to me or.
Mm. I'll tell you what, Kyle. I would be very interested. At the same time, like I said, I have somebody.
It's dangerous.
It is. Listen, I came from it. I'm experienced in it. I know it, and I'm right now currently in the middle of getting involved with something that might be twice as dangerous. And something I can't speak on, but I could promise you I'm safe as of right now. And I think I might be able to, by keeping things anonymous, get somebody else to come on board with this.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who I know does not fancy a lot of the serial killers in the city. Somebody who has a lot more power than yourself or myself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have taken care of things. I really should be keeping my hands clean at all times.
You should. And I would continue to keep your hands clean.
There was an incident the other week, a couple weeks ago. But
involving who?
There was a certain someone that got sent to the ICU that I definitely had a hand in.
Who would that be?
Mike Block.
Ah! Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah, it's people like that,
Listen, it's your job to make sure that they're alive by the time they get to the hospital. If something happens, chalk it up to complications, because unfortunately, the way I've said it to...
I was not on the job.
Oh.
Yeah.
Jesus.
They'll never know it was me.
You probably weren't even there. You were probably completely a ghost, right?
Right.
You do things smart. You do things how other people should. Including myself. There's a lot that I look back on with the Illuminati that I should have done from the beginning and I didn't. And day in and day out, I regret. I wouldn't worry too much about Mike Block.
No.
He's too busy robbing all of us up at Harmony anyway. He's gonna get a gun one day.
Yeah. It was just, there were some things he did around that time that needed to be taken care of.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, without being too, specific, obviously I'd rather keep this as on a level playing field as possible. You have people that help you in situations where,
Yes.
Okay. I got you. Well, since we're talking about it, I guess I could talk to you about what I did. Like, put me into prison. Bobby's danger for breakfast? True.
Yeah, you said it was August?
Uh-huh. Many, many, many moons ago. I was I woke up out of the ICU with a, fractured skull, hammer, back of the head, water in my lungs, and I couldn't figure out what happened. I didn't know. The last thing I had remembered was that I was investigating the Smileys. Lo and behold, time went on and names got dropped and people were admitted. Smiley being one of them. And eventually I learned about August very soonly after. And after hearing from other people, it was confirmed that August and Smiley tortured me for trying to look into who the Scarecrow was as to what he referred to himself.
I'm familiar with that.
Needless to say, I cracked the case. I turned over pages and pages of evidence regarding Smiley and his involvement. I got statements from people like Louis Vuitton, rest in peace. And, August never admitted to any of this because I never brought it up with her. I decided, let me let this one die. So let's go on about 5 or 6 months later, okay? We were starting to build a little bit of a relationship with Q. Nothing like major, nothing like super big, just like a, more of a mutual thing. Apparently, Garage T had notes left at it. Garage Q had notes left at it about the League of Insanity. Nobody knew what the League of Insanity was.
I never really figured that one out. It was over and gone too quick for me to figure out.
Yeah. Kind of let that one die. But August reached out and said that their note mentioned that the T-Boys knew about it. And ironically, we were labeled the T-Boys because Choi owned Garage T at the time. And Thomas and Choi were, I guess, a thing.
Yes.
But I said, okay.
I'm aware of Choi's involvement.
I usually keep her as low profile as possible and out of it because I feel like, I don't want to ever tarnish her reputation, but you are aware of it.
Yes, you'd be surprised. For some reason, I have a knack of finding out about the low profile people before anything else.
Fair enough. I told August, she pushed this meeting for weeks. And it never followed through because she wanted to speak to me and Thomas. And then one day she called and she's like, hey, are we ever going to have that meeting? And you know what? I said this might be a good time to maybe finally turn around and let change be change. Maybe this is a good stepping stone to have something mutual between Q, and August wants to push for it, and I'm okay with that. In the middle of that, I told Thomas, it's like, you should go meet August. I said, I just got a phone call from Claudia. I need to sell a car at PDM, which ironically was my last car sale ever at PDM. It was an expensive car and she wanted me to do it. So I went. Saw the car. Sold the car. And then received a phone call from August in the middle of that saying, hey, Thomas got kidnapped. I don't know what happened. Okay. Next thing I knew, I told August, okay, I will look into it. Next thing I knew, Thomas was in the ICU. Not an overnight stay, just he was in intensive care for a little bit. And, he eventually rolled out of bed. He was okay, but he was tortured. And we had Officer Underwood questioning him because the people at the hospital were very uneasy knowing that it was clear that Thomas was tortured. And I'm sitting there in the room while he's getting questioned by Underwood. And I turned around and I was like, Underwood, what the fuck? He said, what? I said, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job because it's not in my place. But you need to speak to August. I said, it makes no sense to me. So they finished up. I said to Underwood, I said, I said, do me a favor. I said, do me a favor and speak to August. And if you don't, I will speak to her. Pretty much just laying out that she needs to be spoken to. Remember, this whole thing started with redeeming and being, giving myself some kind of redemption with Q, with August, after our shaky path. Right? Thomas got out of the ICU. I had him get in my car. He rested. I told him to just sit in the back seat. I said, I know your arm's hurt. He was just tortured. I said, can you at least rest a gun on, like, the back of the seat? He said, yeah. I said, okay. I called August. Said, August, have you seen Thomas? No, I haven't seen Thomas. Okay. I said, can I at least pick you up and we can maybe talk? Sure. She gets in the front seat, and you get about 20 seconds away from Q, and I said, August, do me a favor. I said, I want you to know, and I want it to be clear that you currently have a gentleman in the back seat who's got a gun to the back of your head. I said, we're going to have a chat. I brought August over to one of the places down at the airport. I'm assuming a security camera caught what happened. I don't know. But I questioned her, and I spoke to her. And I told her to be honest, and to only be honest. She said, if I'm honest, will it get me somewhere else? I said, of course. So, she went on to explain details regarding Smiley and how she doesn't know what happened. Well, first off, it started with she didn't know what happened. Two people rolled up in a taco truck or some shit, or a truck. She heard their voices. They wanted Thomas. They kidnapped them. And they left her there to, be there. I said, okay, that's bullshit. Because this was a discreet location of a meeting between two people. It was supposed to be me and Thomas and August, but it ended up being just August and Thomas. So instead of it just being a conversation or a lead piece, this became a setup. And I called it out immediately. I said, there's no way that a discreet location is going to upon two people to kidnap specifically Thomas and to let you walk freely. It just doesn't happen. So I told her, I said, now's your chance to be honest. And she finally spit it out. She finally said, well, I pinged him. It was a location thing. It was Smiley. And, I could get you to Smiley. You could trust me, Flop. Come on. You could trust me, right? Building herself up a little bit about, trust. And I had a moment. Kyle, I had a fucking moment. 6 months ago, this is the same person who lied to my face and tortured me. And literally left me to die if it wasn't for EMS and doctors. This is the same person who tortured my friends. This is the same person who has been a problem. This is the same person who ironically is married to apples. And that moment 6 months ago, 7 months ago, was when I realized I was looking at somebody who's never changed. To be told, I can get you to Smiley. If that's what you want, I can get you to him. You know you could trust me. That's all she had to say was, you know you can trust me. And I stabbed her and I told her she had her chance. We walked out of there. We got in the car. We started driving. Oh, actually, take that back. We started walking out. Apples called me and said, hey, where's August? And I told him on the phone. I said I stabbed her. I was scared. Letting her walk. Wondering what she was going to do with that information. I was concerned about how that would portray in some light with everybody now. including Q, including Smiley's. I did what I had to do because I needed answers. I was tired of playing cat and mouse. We didn't even make it out of the airport before the police rolled up and caught us. And I willingly took the handcuffs. They found the weapon on me. I didn't dispose of it. I should have, but I didn't. And I went to prison that day. So did Thomas. Shortly after that, after we got out, Thomas, Thomas went to do his own thing. And eventually...
That's when he ratted you all out?
I wouldn't call it a rat out, but he name dropped everybody and then shot the leader of a fucking gang. So, the way I understand it is he more or less did something to benefit himself and start a war that had already ended like weeks before. And that was the war with ESB. And I got shot up by ESB real bad. It was really just, it was bad. But yeah, that's what led me here. And I've been in and out of therapy. I was supposed to get it appealed in court. It never happened. Because Thomas had skipped town, so I couldn't even... Thomas was going to originally take the fall. And then I got asked by my lawyer about his time being a hypnotherapist. Is it possible that he hypnotized me? And honestly, I never got the answer to that. He's gone now, and I don't know if he ever hypnotized me. But to have somebody say that they love you and care about you and they want to have your back, to then start a war with a gang and then skip town to let that gang come after you like ravaged fucking dogs. It was in that moment, Kyle, that I realized the kind of person that Thomas really was. He was sick. He was demented. He got what he wanted for his own personal gain. And he left me to, you know, be on my own. He left me with his shit. And unfortunately, it has preceded me to put myself right where I'm at. And I'm still lost. I still don't know how to feel. But I could definitely say that betrayal is the forefront.
Well, I think it's time to start something new. New chapter.
And I'd be willing. I'd want to be a ghost. I don't want anyone to know my involvement this time.
Yeah. That's how I want to keep it. That's why I haven't put anything in motion for it. It's just because it's hard enough keeping myself a ghost. It'd be even harder to have a few.
Is your plan to turn into the police?
For things that need to.
Mm-hmm.
But for other things, no. Most things, no. But if it's something that, you know, either relate to the person that's in danger or people who can, I wouldn't necessarily say even deal with the problem in that sense, but, you know, help with the problem. Because, you know, sometimes shooting or, you know, taking care of a person isn't, you know, shooting or stabbing them. Sometimes it's distracting them. Sometimes it's draining their resources. Sometimes it's starting a war that they didn't know outside influence orchestrated.
essentially stirring the pot to demean these people.
In a way, yeah.
I'm currently getting involved on a darker side of, I guess, how to proceed with some of these people. I'm trying to keep a low profile and put my because the goal here, Rogain, if you want the truth, I want to get expunged. I want it to be a cop. I wanted to apply for PD, show my dads that I've changed, show them that my wrongdoings in my past are not the kind of person I want to be. I don't want to be labeled the guy that stabbed somebody. I don't want to be labeled as a bad person. You know, I don't want to be... I don't want to be put in a position where I guess I feel alone, you know? I
I understand.
I don't know how to like explain that.
No, I kind of get what you're saying. That's where I'm at. I'm starting to feel that almost feels like the walls are closing in.
I guess you
But
could say
even
that.
with like the short path that you can take, it's almost feels impossible.
Kyle, I have a fear in life that I've never told anybody, that I blow off, that a lot of people make fun of me for, and you know, I chuckle with them, and you know, it is what it is. I sometimes worry if I'm gonna die alone. If I'm never gonna, you know, find somebody who I could talk to, find somebody to, you know, care about, and have someone care about me as much as I care about them. Somebody who could understand, you know, my life and accept it for what it is. And I think a big reason why I do what I do and why I'm so interconnected is because I feel like I'm surrounded by people who do care. And it sounds sinister and it sounds sad, but I sometimes wonder if I really enjoy this, or if this is really just what my life has become.
I relate to that. I know a similar thing. I feel similarly to what you do. Maybe not exactly, but I I I care about people and I don't want to see people hurt, and sometimes I don't feel like I can trust anyone. Even the people I know time and time again I could trust, you worry, you know?
You do. It's sadder than it really is. It sounds sadder than it really is. But I say again, it's not meant to be like that. Um, I don't know. I look back at people like August. I look back at people like Cameron. I look back at people. I mean, even people that I like that I would love to say that, you know, just to say, hey, I'd love to get to know you more. I mean, I'm always worried what people would think if they really know, like, who I am and what my past has been. Andy has stuff going on, and I would never. You know, I guess originally, you know, I lied to everyone, but truthfully, yeah, I did. I did have some kind of feeling for Andy at one point because she was very similar to me in a lot of ways. And I really wanted to get to know her. I thought maybe she was, quote unquote, the one that could understand what I was saying and relate to. And that never ended up following through. And I ruined that one. I mean, shoot, I look at people like I was just talking to Elena today. You know, I care about Elena. I think she's awesome. Reality is, I don't think that she would understand either. Lexi, I would love to talk to Lexi, but as people have put it, and as Lexi's put it, get in line. So, you know, I don't know if there really is anybody that understands where I come from. You and I can relate very similarly, and that's something that I can respect and appreciate. You know, and having friends like that, I think, are really important.
Yes. I I don't know. I just, I sometimes wonder how certain people were still around, how circumstances would change. And
Think about how different things would have been if, I mean, you could even say Charlie. If Charlie was still around and it hasn't been so long, think about what his impact would have been to all this. If Thomas was still around, would anything change? Would consequences have been caught? Would we have all gone to jail for conspiracy? You know? There's a lot there. And you know what? It's questions that will always be unanswered. And I think a drive for me is helping people like you that, you know, also understand a very similar background. And like I said to you, and I'll say it again, I am more than willing to help follow you in this. Because I do think a lot's changed. And I do think that the people that we once went to for information and, you know, sent information to face to face no longer are around. And I think that just makes things abundantly more difficult.
yeah, something needs to be done.
And I think we'll figure that out. Like
It's gonna take time, but
mm-hmm. I'm currently in the talks with somebody, and I'm gonna bring this up with them. I'm not gonna bring your name up, but I want to bring up, you know, some information and see if they would be willing to, you know, bite on this. Because if they're interested, you may actually already have your foundation to start. You just don't know it.
yeah, well, that's good.
And just so you know, the person I'm speaking to is very careful and will not bring this up. So,
Mhm.
even though I'm not going to bring your name up, I'm still going to be very discreet, and they will understand.
That's fine. Yeah, I don't want names involved in this on any part. That way, you know, worst comes to worst.
Of course.
Anyway.
It's good to finally talk to you, Rogain.
It's good to talk to you. Yeah, it's good to catch up.
Absolutely. I don't like how long it was since I guess we last spoke, but you know, I considering the last time we spoke, it was literally based on the premise of Thomas Dwayne. Finally, I guess understand your side and my side, I think was super important, and I hope I helped you out a little bit. If you don't mind me asking though, are you still interested in pursuing Q?
I mean, somewhat. More just all of it, you know?
What do you mean by all of it?
Well, Q is, you know, Q is Q. Q is, I just, you know, all the chaos, all the get back on the trail of the serial killers and
There is somebody I do want to get information from at some point. Maybe a little bit of closure for me.
mm-hmm.
You know a guy named Cameron Dupre?
Is he still alive?
Nah, he passed.
Mm-hmm. That's what I thought.
He was former DA, and then he was
Yes.
Q's lot thought. And a guy named Nicky, who wore a blue jacket, I believe. They called him Little Nicky. And I see him every once in a blue moon.
Yeah, I've seen him around.
Nicky, I had a conspiracy. I had a thought that I had information that Q was running cocaine and guns. And I had a connect to tell me when the guns were being ran and the connect with cocaine. And it was very reliable. And recently, that connect with the cocaine is no longer. But it was information about Q, and I knew that Cameron used to have a drug addiction. And I found out through word of mouth that I think that they were using him by paying him in drugs to keep him on the lot. And Nicky twatted out to Cameron saying, I have something for you, come to Q. And he hands us something off to Cameron, and I never knew what that was. But I always wanted to find out after that day if Nicky was putting Cameron into deep substance abuse. I tried telling Cameron to leave way early on, and he wouldn't listen to me. And then he called me in a plea for help, saying, I don't know if these people I'm around are safe. I don't know who to trust anymore. And I told him, if you're too, I pretty much told him, if you're too stupid to realize now that you're in too deep, I can't help you. I told him to grab his bags, get in his car, and go as far away as possible from Q.
Yeah,
And he didn't. And he died.
He was,
God, this is so good.
he was basically being heavily manipulated through drugs and other things.
Do you know what his
From
cause
what
of
I'm-
death was?
I used to. I do not remember anymore. It's been a while, and I lost a lot of my notes.
I did too. Maybe one day I'll go sit and talk with Nicky and figure that out. Still a very, you know, down the path I want to figure out. But anyway.
Yeah, I would say be careful.
I plan on it, and Rogain, I just gave you a lot of information. Gave you a lot about my past just now. I trust you. And I trust that you will not do anything, malicious with that. And the fact that you're coming to me with an offer leads me to believe that you are being genuine. And I've always trusted you. You're one of my favorite EMS. If not, you are my favorite EMS. If you don't mind me asking, is EMS a cover-up for you? Is that a way to get close to people?
Not really. It's something that came about just because, I do love helping people. And yes, it does give me more lines to information, but that was never really the goal of it. Goal of it was just to help people because I started seeing people get hurt more and, thought I could help with it.
Fair enough. Well, I think we'll be in touch. And I think we'll be talking a lot more very soon. And I will get back to you on my connect on who may have full interest in this. And if they do, it's going to put you in a really good spot to where I think you are envisioning.
Okay.
So, and I would give you more detail if I could. Unfortunately, right now,
I understand entirely. You don't need to give out details you don't need to. I also, one of my things about protecting people is also, to help keep them hidden. I also just recently bought a small place to hide away people if necessary. So if you ever need someone and need to get someone hidden, there's places.
Okay. I recently got a place up in Paleto too.
Oh no, mine's not in Paleto. Mine's
off the grid.
No, it's in the center of town, but no one would ever expect the center of town.
Fair enough.
Do you question seeing someone come out of our apartment center of town?
Nah, not really.
Yeah, but do you question seeing someone coming out of a small little shack and you ever passing by and say Sandy or Paleto?
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I see where you're going with that, and you're absolutely right. You're right.
I used to hide away things in Paleto too, but it's too obvious there. Everyone knows everyone that lives up there.
I don't hide my house though. I keep that pretty open. I'm actually receiving a phone call from the person I'm talking about.
Okay. I'll let you get to it.
All right. Well,
have a good one.
We will talk